you asked a great question this morning. You said, well, I keep sliding. Do I need to just stay back on my right foot and turn? And I said that no, actually. And that's a great thing to understand for the viewer as well. It's because you don't have enough weight on your left side that you actually can't rotate, but simply because you're over here, you have to slide back. And because we're not going to hit that point to where we need to then rotate, we're going to keep sliding. That's where you get in trouble and the arms and hands get overactive. So here's the big thing I want you to understand. People often slide because of the fact that they get too much weight into their right side. Too much weight into their right side is shifting the weight with the lower body and not allowing the setup and simply the body's turn to put the pressure in the back foot. If I set this up on the inside of my back foot and I bump my hips forward, that signature hip bump that I always talk about. So 2 components of that, right? Hips are square, sternum is still, hips go forward. Pressure shifts to the inside of my right foot and the flat of my left foot. I have a post, I have a brace, and as my mentor always said, Todd Stones, he always tell me, this is the anchor point of the swing right here. Okay, so when I turn, watch, I'm turning, and you notice how I maintain that anchor point. I haven't moved off of it very far. Now, here's the thing, that's the feel versus the real. Like, people will move off a little bit, but it's not an active effort to do that with the lower body. People think weight transfer, and what do? They slide, and then they sway and they slide. So my big thing to you guys is this. Get the setup right, sternum still, hips forward. Now watch this. That creates a spine angle that's perpendicular to your pelvis, right? So if I'm this way, like a reverse pivot, that's why people's spine goes this way. If I have a higher left hip like that and I bumped it forward, the spine's back, and that line is there because I can turn around my spine. Watch, proof, my head's not moving. The shoulders, my muscles are just turning right around my spine, and that's what puts the pressure right to the inside of my back leg. I feel big time pressure right in here, and I could push off right around my anchor point. And that's where the best golfers in the world, I want you to remember this, typically will only move from the top of their swing where the hip is. They'll only move half a hip length over and then rotate. That's not trying to be created. That's not this move where people then bump forward like that. No, it's already there. When you set up, it's already there. That's where you can really rotate and unwind. I'll tell you, one thing that you're doing really well, and I gave you a compliment on this yesterday, besides the overall swing playing being much better, the setup and your turn, it's so much better. And that's simply creating fixed points to be able to rotate around and take away some of that lateral movement. And the next thing for you is, because of the fact that you had lateral movement, only thing getting your club up and through, what? Arms, exactly. So I want to see you get in there today. Think about some simple visuals. After you create that post in the brace and you're just turning and you're keeping that right knee right on the inside of that right foot, all I want you to do, arms and hands, elbows together, and just keep the sternum looking at your hands the whole time, okay? Like, see the camera, the mic right here? I'm just gonna keep the mic looking at my hands as I rotate around those points, okay? When we watch your swing, and I watched it yesterday, it gets what I call narrow. Like, it gets too much angle in here.
Yeah.
The club head, this is huge for the viewer as well. The club head needs to move at the same pace as the hands and the body. So watch this. See that feeling? Like, what? Here's not doing that. You know what I mean? But watch this. Do you see how everything just got up there at the top together? So when we talked about in the beginning, this turn, you're syncing that turn up with the club head and hands moving with it, okay? So when you take some practice swings today, that's not the entire lesson. But what I want you to understand is work on your rhythm. Work on making sure these are working together and that your body and hands are a little bit more synced up, okay? Take some practice swings like that. Club head working at the same pace as the turn. Good. So that's a great lesson right there, because already what this does, and Ryan, you can start hitting, buddy. What that does is it allows him to do what he's already doing better and with more control. Anytime you get faster, say the wrists are cupping or the club face is opening, you know. When that happens, if it's done faster, well, guess what? It's gonna happen more. Just by telling the golfer to keep the club head, the hands, and the body working together, it's one of those tips. I call it like the U.S. Open tip, where your player's on the range at the U.S. Open, and you wonder what you can tell them if they're really struggling for a moment right before they go and tee off. That's one of those things that will never hurt. It will always bring it more together. It leads to connection. It allows you to not have things break down as much. So it's a good starting point. Not always the entire lesson. Sometimes something needs to actually be changed, but it's going to be better as a result of that. So let's talk about what we can improve, okay? Now, all of our changes today are going to be made from the down the line view, okay? And a couple things I want to show you, and I'll give you a notice if I drew a line from the hip joint down, you're going to notice that, okay, you know, not far off, but a little bit behind the ankles, right? And all that means right here is this. You know, there's this zero sit back. I'm standing up right here, I'm tilted over, and I'm flexing down without sitting back. And that actually helps the turn. A lot of times people sit back a little bit and the turn gets a little bit locked up because people over-rotate a little bit too soon. The weight's already in the heel and the arms float to the top, okay? What happens to you, because we're sitting back and playing golf a little more around us rather than over and underneath us, okay, it's gonna work a little bit around, and then the arms just get a little bit, it's gonna be in a good position, huge, such a difference, but then it just gets a little behind you. When you see the club get outside the hands right here, you know, however many degrees outside the hands it is there is going to be how many degrees you're going to swipe across it at impact, right? So it's going to just go right across it. Can lead to some pulls, some cuts. But the big thing is notice how, because you're getting steep, how you have to really stand up through the golf ball. And that's where the only saving grace to being able to shallow the golf club a little bit. We're going to get rid of that, okay? So what our goal today is to use this beautiful turn that you have now created with that setup. We're going to get everything just down the line and a little bit more in front of you right here with that nice wrist position. You're going to learn how to move that right to the top and keep it in the same spot there like this, not like that back there. And as a result, that club's going to just come right back down to the same spot it went back, right? So here's the big thing. Start with the setup. This is an easy one. Hold this right here at your ankles. Hold it right there where the hip joint is. And just tilt over without pushing this back. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just right here. Chest goes down, points at the ball, and then you flex and just keep it right there. Well, now you're in position to where we can now work on this takeaway. And watch this, guys, for the camera here. If I'm over the ball the right way, look at my takeaway. Same takeaway, sitting back a little bit. Look, see how the club moves? And it's just easy if I'm sitting here to do that same takeaway, get underneath like that, okay? So go right in line with the ankle, right there. And you just kind of tilt right over the belt line right there. Good. Yeah, same hip bump. And the chunk was the miss yesterday. So something I always like to do, like this is so basic, and I'm glad our viewer can see this too. This is so easy, so simple. It's like if you're chunking it, I always tell people, like, don't. You know, I mean, even with bad technique, you can still hit the ground over there. Okay, so what I like to do is if this was the back of the ball, okay, and I drew a line, imaginary line, where the back of the ball was, there's the alignment rod. Set the club up there. There's just nothing wrong with taking practice swings that are always hitting that side. Now, what will help you hit that side? The posted up lead leg, the connection, and then the connection maintaining with rotation around that left side. You can see, watch the club. It will be, this angle right here will be directed over there and not the early release back here, okay? So Ryan, what did your swing used to look like?
What was it? It was like everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was
Wasn't
like
that bad.
I was here, there, and then there.
All I remember,
some mix of those.
I remember sweet kicks, by the way, dude.
Thank you.
All I remember is this. It was just so tremendously this way. It wasn't even funny.
At Forzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our Full Swing Masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our Full Swing Masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.